Here are your gap and go trades for the week of October 28th through November 1st. I will go over price targets, have a gap recap from October 21st through the 25th, and update the chart as well. Hi everyone, it's Dow on the Dow. First up is NEO. We ended the week at $5.26, up 5.62%. To the north side from where we are takes us back to one level of resistance and a potential take profit area at 538. Above that, 544 and 554. To the south side, the middle of the trend takes us back to 515. This is also one level of support. And if we hit this level, I will anticipate a little bounce as people buy the dip. And below that, at another level of support, 495. 485 and 475. And you can see the other lines of support and resistance by turning on your Bollinger Bands, your VWAP, and drawing your trend lines as well. Taking a look left, this gap is still in play to the upside, taking us to 551, and that would be basically at 4 standard deviations. But right now we are still going downward, not quite a huge slope, but it's still going south. So it would be nice if we touch this line and then crater. But to get up to this level to fill up this gap would be nice. And this gap that opened up on the 18th touched right here. So let me clean that up. Again, when I draw out these gaps, I extend it into the following week, and I have no idea when it's going to touch. So right out of the gate on Monday, it did. So that is no longer in play to the south side, no longer a landmine for our account. We did go down even more, and this used to be the middle of the trend, and that has turned into support, that line. And then this used to be the middle of the trend that has turned into resistance. And these are the other lines I've drawn out. And for this week, we are right here, retracing our steps, basically, because we used to be there. And what else? Oops. Command Z to reset if you've made a mistake and want to redo what you just did. So this will take us to 677, and then we have this smaller one that will take us to 624, and that's a gap to the upside. But again, downward is the channel we are in. So moving farther away from these gaps to the upside. And to the downside, we've got a gap to be aware of, 417, 395, and 370 to the south side. But even if we make it down to these levels, obviously we're going to get a bounce within the time frame that you're playing. So there's always an opportunity to get out too. So I anticipate, for example, price to stay within -2 and 2 standard deviations, and the calculations will constantly change. But if you're down here, I will anticipate a bounce and then taking us up to potentially 2 standard deviations, but that will change. So keep your eye on that. All right, the next one is Tsla. What a run up we had this week. Incredible. First, your price targets. We are at 269.19, up 3.34%. Resistance, 274.25 roughly. 293.95, 303.13, and 313.08. I do have a sell order set for this area for some shares I bought a long time ago. And I am willing to sell off some of them, although the price target is now at $400 if you're willing to play the long game. So that's the new target. To the south side, another level of support, 254.46, 245.21, 234.81, and as far as the gaps go, we gapped up on earnings. Let me click on that so you can see. We reported 25.182 billion. The estimate word on the street was 25.468. So down 1.12%, but still we ran. And this level is a 25% return. This now will take us to, let me just move it down here because I will extend it out. My magnet is turned on, so it gets wonky. You have to be one tick over from where price is for this to work. All right, 214.29, and we've got this gap to the downside at 201.65, and then we have other gaps that I'm also tracking, but we are moving farther away from those gaps to the south side, not in the channel, not in the zone, not even close for this one. Oops. As far as the gaps to the upside, so this gap touched right there on earnings day. So that took us up to 238.46. Delete. No longer in play. And oops. This gap at 257.15. We worked our way up to this level as well. No longer in play. Delete. Oops, wrong one. There we go. And now the final target that I've been tracking for weeks and weeks and weeks will take us to 291.06. And let me just quickly show you this on the daily. I know this looks like a hot mess, but all of these weeks I've been tracking a gap retracement. We went from here down, up, and then down, and then back up again. All right, on the daily, see, this is the last one that I've marked out. All right, for the daily, oops, gosh darn it. The next target in the big picture takes us to 294.35. That will wipe out this gap for sure. And then if we continue up, but obviously this is going to whip you around, 325.12, and that's it for now as the calculations are updated. All right, so be aware of these gaps to the downside. That one's still in play for this one. Let me delete that one so it doesn't get confusing. All right, and now let's go to the next target. Oh wait, I forgot to mark out the middle of the trend. Yes, this does clutter up your chart, but I can remove these at any time, and I like to see them. I like to see where we've been and where we are potentially headed. Oh, this needs to move over. There. This needs to move up to right. See that magnet? It's pulling it, so I have to. That's good enough. Actually, I can just turn off the magnet. There. And make sure I correct that. Yep, that's good. right, these used to be the middle of the trend, and now it will turn into either resistance or support as well. But 291.06 is the last call for me on Tsla, and if we hit it, fingers crossed, I will add a new ticker to the gap and go trades. Okay, Tsly is the next one. Oh, yay, up 2.19% at 1307. I never looked at this one. I was down with this one. Well, I used to be up and then down. Now I'm slightly up again, and I will be getting out of this one eventually. First, your price targets. 1327, 1394, 1427, and 1462 to the south side. This is where I bought in previously at 1257-ish, 1225, and 1190. And while I'm here, I'm just going to mark this out. Okay, that's the new middle of the trend. And where was the last week was right here. So we went from this level. Wait a minute. That's 12%. But if we hit this middle of the line here where I anticipate we get, that would be a 15% from middle of the trend to the next middle of the trend. All right, now for your gaps on Tsly. This is still in play, taking us down to 1121-ish. All right, this gap filled on earnings day. Okay, that's done at 1223. What else do we have? We have this gap. There we go. This took us to will take us to 1367. And this one will take us to 1413. Oh, and then look at this one. We've got many gaps to get to retrace. And right now on the 5, we are in an upward channel just like we are with Tsla. Okay, and I'll mark this out later. 1367. All right, the next one is Intel. We did run up a little bit to here because of good news and some partnership, I think is what I read. Some sort of, yeah, I'll find it later, but it came back down to reality because the partnership was not making the money, it's money being spent or collaborating. So it ran just on the excitement of that and then back down to support. All right. From up here, going down, turns into support, support, support. On the way up, because we did fall through it, this turns into resistance. All right, the middle of the trend takes us back to 2278, 2345, 2380, and 2411. 2206, 2171, and 2137. I previously sold some Intel at 2142, the green line, for my mom, and I do still own Intel for her. All right, so we've got this tiny gap to deal with at 1936, closing out there. And I don't know what that is. Did we gap up? And that's why, yeah, I think we gapped up. Yeah, that closed out. Okay, that's good. And then the gap I'm tracking takes us to 2904. Not in the channel, not in the zone, not even close, just something to be aware of. The next one is Sofi. Doing so fine. Slowly going up. All right, first, your targets for the day. 1112, 1150, 1171, and 1190. So again, -2 and 2 standard deviations all day long, but towards the end of the week, should we make it up and continue to grind up, we could get to 1299. So we will see about that one. South side, 1073, 1053, and 1032. And this gap is still in play. Oh, here we go. All right, and the next gap up, this one, oh, we hit it. Oh, look at that, touched right there at 1129. Our high was 1134, so right there. So very close and very nice. And of course, what happens at resistance, people take their profits and they run, they lock in and they leave, and that's exactly what happened. We flushed back down to support and then gapped up here, and that gap closed out. And that needs to be, oh wait, what happened? Oops, there. This needs to be deleted. And then the next target, let me go to the hourly. So that's done. And am I tracking? Am I tracking anything else? That's it. I need to find a different ticker to replace Sofi. Oh my goodness, this is so amazing. Obviously, we fell back down to 1099, but I have been tracking this for look at the weeks and weeks and weeks I've traded this or tracked it. I do own this, but all right. Look at this. We went from here, retraced down, went up. And now, oh my goodness, I don't know. Are we going to crash? We have some open gaps here, some open wounds that need to be closed. So unfortunately, there could be some downside action. Yeah, look at this. So we are at resistance up here. So when we are up here, this is what I use RSI for, support and resistance. And you know what happens here? It's going to roll over, come back down, may or may not touch, 30, 20, whatever, and then bounce back up again, because that's what always happens. So be careful if you're in this and you're trying to get in and out. You might want to sell some, unless you don't care. Just look away and then look back in another year. It depends on what your target is. What is it that you are trying to do? And I have bought in here at this level, but we have a gap here that will take us down, but maybe I'm going to start unloading now that I see this in the big picture. The 1 year price target is what? 14. We're close. All right, so that is it for Sofi. I'm going to just double check and go on the daily and the monthly and make sure I haven't skipped any gaps that will take us up even higher, up to 14, but we'll see. But the 52, what is the 52-week high? 1134, so we are at the 52-week high. All right, I've got more investigating to do. PayPal. PayPal hit the target that I talked about. First, your price targets. 81.85, 82.59, 82.96, and 83.34. 81.08, 80.70, and 80.32. Now, as far as the gaps go, this one is still in play to the downside, taking us to 80.87. And this gap took us to 81.63. When I started tracking this for my gap and go trades, this was the week I started, and then we got into this week and it closed out on was it Tuesday? Yeah, right there. Tuesday, Wednesday morning. All right, so that is done. I will no longer be tracking PayPal. That was very short, but I've only identified one gap, and that's all I'm doing because that's all I could really find when I put this into play for the gap and goes. But be aware, if we tank and go south, there are some open wounds to the south side, 77.38. And what is this one? I'll mark this out for you just to be aware of, although we are in an upward channel on the 5, but you never know when things start to reverse on us and we get clobbered. Protect your money, set your stop loss, set your sell limit. Now, I'm not going to track PayPal anymore because this was the only gap to the upside I'm tracking. I like to track to the north side, not to the south side. I just point those out. I'm replacing PayPal with NNE. I'm tracking this for a trader named Myram. I hope I said that right. All right. I only just saw the message, so I apologize. That took me 2 weeks to see that. I'm so bad. All right. First, your price targets. I did do a nuke ticker. Well, I track some nuclear, I can't even say that word, nuclear tickers. So take a look at that, and NNE is one of them. But I wanted to put this into the gap and goes because I want to track it till we hit this number, 26.92. All right, so again, your targets, 20 roughly, 21.03 and 22.09. Okay, and to the south side, middle of the trend, 1786-ish, this gap forms. 1578, the gap closes at 1559, 1463, and 1366. And then we've got this gap down here. And these gaps close, so we don't have anything to worry about there. But this one we do have to worry about. And the 1 year price target is, oh yeah, the analysts did not do a price target for this one yet. No one's tracking it, apparently. So that is it. For NNE, I want to keep this moving along. RIVN, $10.45, 1051, 1077, 1090, and roughly 1104. Previous middle of the trend there, the median, and now that has turned into resistance. So we've got a gap here that will take us down to 1018, but we have to get through to this line first, 1025, 1018, 1012, 999. Note the bounce at support, sell off at resistance. Those are clear levels for you. And this one touched, so I'm not tracking that anymore. What am I tracking to the upside? Let's go to the hourly. Oh, so I am tracking. Oh wait, that's this big box here. This one closed, so let me delete that. Okay, this is why I have to go through and clean this up. All right, the next big gapper takes us to 1747. And this one touched, so let me erase that. That took us down to $12, and we've been going down since. See, all we did was go up. We tried to retrace, didn't quite make it there, made our way back up, and then filled that gap. That gap started on June 25th, 6-ish, and finally closed out on September 20th. Oh, and we've got this gap too. 23.34. Not in the channel, not in the zone, not even close. Just something to be aware of. Going down on the 1 hour time frame, but that's not where I mark my chart. I do it on the 5. So that will give you different buy and sell signals. I sound like a broken record, but it's really methodic here, what I do. I feel like a robot, but that's okay. You got to keep consistent. 156.92. 158.29, 159.67, 153.91, 151.08, 149.68, and 148.19. Hold on 1 second here. I got to text my dad. He wants to talk about some land that we own and wants to build on, so I got to call him back for a little call here. But okay, where did I go? So to the bottom here is 148.16, 151.10. So this gap finally closed out. Yay. Well, it was a short one, but I want all of it to close. And this one touched, oops, here down to 155.50. The next gap I am tracking will take us to 169.52. And anything to the south side? No, that's it. We had a moment where we ran up and then we've kind of gave it all back and then went sideways there. But you can still, even if we're going down, you can still make money. I mean, other than options, but here's the bounce off support, a run up, a bounce off support, a run up, bounce off support, a run up. Get in, get up, get out. All right, and to the upside, I already said that. 173.61. Okay, is that it? Oh, Nike. I've got one more too after that. Ugh, that's a lot. Okay, I know you guys are getting bored. I'm boring myself. I should go work for the boring company. All right. 79.14, 79.39, 78.39, 77.90, 77.66, and 77.40. Actually, one of my tenants does work for that company. All right, to the north side, we're looking at this, well, this gap and this one, 89.16. This gap opened up. That will take us to roughly 81.40. Okay, and this gap closed to the downside right there at 80.83. Delete. No longer a threat to our account to the south side. There are other threats, not this one. So we close that gap and flush down even more because that's the true support line there. This one will take us to 94.27. Okay, and then we've got gaps to the south side to worry about. Oh, and I forgot, did I? Wait, what is, this looks weird. Oh yeah, it's because I'm missing a line here. Okay, so again, all I'm tracking is, let me hit Option R. From here to here this week, and we are going down. So eventually, if we continue our path maybe at the end of the week, it could get down to 73.32. So just be aware of that, and that would wipe out this gap and this gap, which is what we need to do. We need to rip off the Band-Aid, finish out these gaps so we can organically go back up again. All right. The middle of the trend takes us right there. I have to go back and do all those because I forgot. Let me do Nike really quick, and I've got to get, oh wait, that was Nike. And now Unilever. Let me put this line up so it helps me keep track from week to week. I am in this trade for my mom. I think we're up 40%. I probably should sell out. Okay. 61.96 is where we ended right here. 61.95. 63.32. 63.91. 64.59. 60.64. 59.97. 59.30. And okay, one gap at a time. It does get confusing. So if you don't mark these out, oops, Command Z to redo that. So we've got a gap that will take us down to 60.67. This gap closed right here to the upside at 61.82. This gap closed also on this day, on the 24th, 62.30. This will take us up to 62.93 or 94, close enough. And what's going on here? Let me just pull these. There. And we've got this one. So this will take us up to eventually 64.89. This one will take us to 64.53. And look at this. I have to go through and clean up this gap. Done. This gap. Small gap within the gap. Done. And all these other gaps I need to clean up. I don't want to bore you. I'll do this at some other time. So what do we have here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So I'm getting rid of PayPal, and I'll probably get rid of Sofi unless there was a gap that I missed. And did I mark out the middle of the trend on all of these? Yep, there. Oops. And just redo. Yep, I did that one. Come on. Why did my chart not populate? All right, it's getting wonky on me. So I'm going to end it here. If there is a ticker that you would like me to go over, oh, it's populating, but oh, there, thank goodness. Please let me know, and have a great trading week.